up, guys? Welcome back to the JP and Trav show. It's your boy JP, and we got the homie Trav to the right of me. Trav, how you feeling, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm worn out, but I'm good. It's
Yes, sir.
spring game week. How can you not be good on spring game week?
It's spring game week. Yes, sir. And we have our good friend that's been on the show with us before, Chris with a K down below. Chris, how you feeling today, brother?
Man, I'm great, man. I'm excited. I'm just praying for good weather this week, the entire week, so we can enjoy the spring game the way it's supposed to be enjoyed.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Oklahoma
Oh,
weather changes every day, so we may not
Yeah,
like it today, but let's just hope it changes a little bit, right?
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Now I was talking to my mom and sister, so I don't know how it aligned, but my sister has attracted me at OU this weekend. It's a home meet, so that's
Right.
going to be going on at the same time. I was telling my mom, I was like, Mom, you're going to have to get there like 7 a.m. if you want a good parking
Oh,
spot for the track
oh yeah.
meet. Because I'm like,
Oh,
you
for
know, they're
sure.
going to be tailgating everything, and it's the Baker Mayfield statue of it, like, and it's all over there. Like, you're going to have to make sure you're ready to roll.
Yeah,
So it's definitely gonna be interesting. Chris, are you
Yeah,
going,
I mean,
Chris?
I
I know
know.
Travis going,
Yeah.
obviously.
yeah. No, I'm definitely going. I got my tickets maybe a week or two ago. So I'm gonna be in there. So are you gonna be there, JP?
I'm not. Unfortunately, depending on how some look at it, fortunately, I'm hosting a big softball tournament this Saturday at my school. So I got
Got you.
four teams coming in. So it's our first kind of big softball tourney, and I mean since I've been here, but in like 3 or 4 years because we do have a softball field in my school. And so, we're trying to make it a big event so that it's something that we get to do in years past. And we got some big name schools coming in. So, all my attention has kind of been focused on that and trying to do that well. I want to be there, but, I got to do my job. So I'll be checking
See,
in on my
Trav.
phone, Bill.
Oh yeah.
You already know I'll be looking. So my God, told my sister she needs to, after she gets done running the 100 or 4x1, she needs to run over to the stadium real quick, hop over the fence. Go see what's going
Yeah.
on.
Exactly. Yeah, you save up. You're not going to get too many trips with that new girl of yours. So you need
Yeah.
to save them up for the season,
Yep.
and maybe you get one in during the season. But don't
Yeah.
don't don't waste your one trip on the spring game.
Absolutely. That was
Got to budget
obviously
it.
that's the bigger. I wouldn't have been able to probably come anyway if I didn't have the softball because baby girl's only 6 weeks old. But I'm planning on coming to a game probably around same time Thanksgiving probably
Thanksgiving again. Yeah.
next year. Yeah, we'll just come down, be at the house with mom and everything like that. And then we'll probably go to I don't know if it'll be Bedlam or whatever, but we'll pop by. But we'll bring baby girl. So Trav, you'll definitely get to meet her, and then Chris,
Oh yeah.
meet up too, bro.
Oh yeah, for
We'll,
sure, for
we'll
sure.
get down there. So we're just, as I said on Twitter, this is just going to be kind of one of those where we obviously we come with things we plan on talking about normally, but we'll just let the chat um, push us today. There's only one comment though. I mean, you got there's a couple of 30 plus of you in here. We need some comments so we can get going. Here's a good question to start off with. Do you know if if the spring game is going to be streamed? I would assume that it'd be on the OU Sports app, right?
Yeah.
it should be on Sooner Sports. If not, that's an oversight. But somebody will be streaming it. That's for sure. Somebody will have something up there. So, or I should just say no. It's not. Buy your tickets. Come.
There's only like what 3,000 left or so. I've heard that we could pack the palace this weekend.
Yeah. Well,
So
they're not opening up the top.
okay,
Um,
Okay.
so I think last time I saw there was like I don't know 54,000 sold, something like that.
yeah,
But it's one of those. If we had, I'm sure 20,000 people that would open up the top. But
Jimmy Jeff, one guy I haven't heard a lot about in RK. I know he's pretty new to football coming in. Any buzz on his progress? I haven't heard too much necessarily either. Trav, Chris, what have you guys heard?
Yeah, one of the people in the program told me, and I feel bad even saying it, but hey, we got to be honest on this thing. He said he was a little soft. It was a little soft. Wasn't transitioning too well. It was one of those, it's a project type situation, but yeah, that's what I've heard. Is he's not physical enough to play at least this brand of defense. So that's what I've heard.
I would say on the contrary, I'm sure you guys have talked about it. We talked about it openly. We talked about it, kind of off the mic, off the record and everything.
Mm-hmm.
The last defensive coaching staff didn't really, when things kind of unfolded, how they went down with Lincoln and all the rest of that stuff. And I'm sure we'll talk about that later as far as the Tribune piece and all the rest of that. But it kind of seems like that at least on the defensive side of the ball, they weren't developed or they didn't learn certain things that you would think would be that most defense would be accustomed to. Pre-snap motion, different things like that. So it's kind of like, hey, you just got this one responsibility, or you got this 2 or 3, whatever the case may be. So I would say for him, especially being that he was, highly talented basketball player, highly talented, football player coming out of high school, I would say that he's still really raw. And I think the verdict is still out of him. I mean, I want to say he redshirted last year, right? So
yeah, but then when you look at guys like Clayton Smith and Grimes, Stripling, Lalu, all those guys that are playing, Ethan Downs, obviously, those guys that are playing edge, it's like, okay, are you getting recruited over at a certain point?
Mm-hmm.
Is Clayton Smith kind of that next man up after like the Stripling and Downs and Lualus of the world? You once you get lost in that rotation, it's like, all right, man, you either gotta compete for some PT or or you're gonna get caught from behind. So
I would say that, just to cut edge, I would just say, like, listening to Venables, I think the thing that has me optimistic about a kid like that, obviously, is go back to what he was saying about Isaiah Simmons, somebody like that who came in who was just as raw as this kid is right here. And we're saying, and it took him about 2 to 3 years to actually get on the field and actually see meaningful snaps and become the player he was. So I'm thinking that, hey, I'm going to trust the process and just say, like, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, hey, I'm not going to give up on the kid. If he redshirts, I understand. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think there's still some room for development with him. And I think that he could get there because there still is a fairly new system for everybody. And it's a complex.
Of course.
Well,
it's a blank slate type situation. And like I said, the way it was described to me was like, there are a lot of things you can say, like, oh, this guy just doesn't react to this type of coach, or he's not getting the scheme or something, like, but the way it was described to me was just more of a physicality type thing that wasn't translating. But I mean, hey, I would love to be proven wrong on that. I would love it. So let's see. We got all these. I thought I saw some more questions in the chat. Look at this. So I'm getting a little warm. So I got the Oklahoma vs. World hoodie. So I'm gonna strip that.
Yeah, hey, got the shirt underneath too.
Got the Oklahoma vs. World shirt just to stay on brand. I wanted my message to be very clear today as I was out. So I was like, whatever the weather's like,
hey,
that's what we're gonna be rocking with. So
that's right. What position groups are you most interested in? I'm assuming in seeing how far they have developed. Obviously, if you guys have been with us the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about offense and defense. Last week, Keegan, Raynow, and I talked about offense. The week before that, we talked about defensive position groups. And so I know for me personally, the group I was most interested in was the linebackers because I believed that was the group, particularly on the defensive end, that left the most to be desired last year. Obviously, the secondary will probably be the second out of that group, but the linebackers I think have more issues most of the time than the secondary. So wanting to see how they develop, especially with Brent Venables being, one of, if not the best linebackers coach in the country, even though he's the head coach, he's over there looking into them for sure. So that's mine. How about you guys?
Oh man, I'll jump in and just say, literally, I'm not gonna leave any of the position groups untouched. Honestly, coming in, I think I've said it on a few other shows. Ty's show, Roundtable Sports, shout out to him. Our show, said it a bunch of times. Coming into last year's spring game, it was who I was excited to see. This year is what I'm excited about seeing. Right, so I think with the defensive line group, you just want to look inside. You want to look at D tackles. You want to see what are we doing inside to really, focus on not being as soft in the middle as we were last year. Obviously, the linebacking core, we could talk about the woes that we had last year. I'm sure that you guys have covered that. JP, I'm sure you covered that in depth.
Mm-hmm.
And then just as far as the DB room with Coach Valai, as from everything that I've heard, technique is being stressed all over the field defensively. And so technique is a big thing with that DB group. So I'm wanting to see how they develop, how they progress, and how they're reacting to the coaching that they're getting now, as far as being coached by somebody who's played the position and somebody who is just, obviously I just say he's a little bit more knowledgeable, I guess. And that's not to slight throw a slight fade at Manning. I think Manning, look, Grinch and that staff came in and did something. They stabilized that defense. Okay. And we have to give them credit for doing that. Did it really pan out in year 3? I don't really know. But at the end of the day, I digress. But I would just say, man, now you feel like as a fan, you just feel like, hey, they're getting the coaching that they need and the coaching that you feel like those players deserve. So you definitely want to see what kind of development is happening there, because a guy like Woody Washington, in my mind, I feel like he could be a day 1 guy or at least a day 2 guy. It's just all depending, this season.
Yeah.
However long he's
more
still
day
here.
2 simply because of his size. If he was 2 inches taller, it'd be D1.
Yeah.
A lot of those D1 corners, it's just they're 6'2", 6'3" guys. Yeah. So with that, as far as what position group I'm most excited about is interior defensive line, because I've heard every good thing somebody can say about Coach Bates, and the interior defensive linemen have told me how much they enjoy playing for him. But I just want to see what it's like. No disrespect to Tibbs or anything, but you won't find many defensive line coaches with the credentials of Todd Bates. So I want to see what that translates to from a production standpoint.
Yeah. We all watched that video today. Did you see that got put out of the practice clip of Jalen Redmond?
Yeah.
And again, it's a snippet, but just to be able to see something like that is, it's what you want, obviously. And we're not. And Chris, I know you appreciate this more than anybody. We're not going to do what them do south of the river. We don't do the off-season talk. They down there. Oh, look at Ajayi Hall. Look at Naylor. Look at viewers. Look at Worthy. All that stuff. We're not gonna get into that.
Nah.
We just trying to be realistic up here. You know what I mean? But nah, I think that we'll definitely get to see what we want to in the spring game on Saturday, and maybe we'll come out next week talking about what group stood out to us and whatnot. So linebackers for me, Chris, I think you had a lot of different position groups you felt like you wanted to see, and then Trav, you were D-line, right?
Yeah, interior D-line. I think specifically, and that's kind of through the season, and just the spring game. Obviously, I'd like to see it, but with the winds as crazy as they're going to be, I don't think we're going to see a lot of downfield stuff. So I think it'll be a great day to showcase the running backs. Just this specific day.
Yeah.
I look, I had to piggyback off of what Travis was saying. I mean, it's interior for me. I mean, it was tough watching that last year. I
Yeah.
mean, it was inside run, inside run, inside run.
Everybody went for
Twos.
it on fourth. That's
Yeah,
just
everybody.
disrespectful. And they pick it
Yeah,
up.
and it was just like, man, can we not get a stop? And that's where we were hurt. So I mean, obviously everybody hears it. We don't have a guy that just pokes out like a sore thumb like Perry on Winfrey, but
Yeah.
we have a plethora of talent. I mean, guys like obviously Jalen Redmond, we can talk about him. Josh Ellison has always been solid. Jordan Kelly's been really good. And then I mean Isaiah Coe, guys like that. Jeffrey Johnson is now in the fold. And I mean, with Venable's defense, especially across the line, I mean, your D tackles could be playing DN on any given down. So it's such an ebb and flow with that defense that it's going to be really interesting to kind of look at that defense, just the nuts and bolts of it, because we'll get to see a more fundamental look out there on spring game. I mean, on the spring during the spring game, opposed to what we'll see, opposed to what we'll see during the season. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to kind of see that and just see kind of how those parts work together, because I know watching some of the breakdowns of this defense and just watching the defense over the years during the games, I mean, some plays is really simple, but in some plays on a Brett Venables defense, it's a lot of stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah,
He relied heavily on confusion.
Yeah, if you pay
good.
attention to one group closely, then you're missing the entire scheme, because there's things on the back half that you're just like, wow, like what? You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
And on that point, I do have a question for y'all real quick. I do want to throw this up there because this is funny. That's my boy from DGD podcast I've been on before. This is a fact.
Yeah.
We'll finally be able to overcome the obstacle known as Kansas with the guy Hall. Maybe. We hope. We'll see. My question for y'all is, as we're talking about the defense and how complex Brent Venables' system and scheme is, obviously we know he demands perfection. We know he's very sound on technique. Do you guys feel like he's going to be, or this scheme, I'll say, is going to be more susceptible to busts, especially the first year or two? Busts in coverage specifically.
No, I think I personally think you're going to have busts happen in any defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I personally think that they're going to play the guys. This whole scheme relies on knowing what to do, knowing where to be, everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they are going to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
If you know where to be, you're going to play. I don't care if you're a step slower. I don't care if you're a couple inches shorter. I don't care if you don't hit as hard. I don't care where your ball skills are. If you are in the right place, you'll play. So I think where you might see more contested catches, you might see dropped interceptions, you might see something like that. I don't think we're going to see as many just flat out busts.
I think also, just let's piggyback off of that. I mean, actually, let's just unpack that. I really feel like Key Lawrence and Billy Bowman are going to be really instinctive out there, and they're really athletic. Okay, so Turner Yale and Pat Fields, great. No no complaints. They did what they needed to do, but I mean, let's just be real. I think I'll go out on a limb for all of us and just say I think we all have the understanding that that Key Lawrence and Billy Bowman are both more talented than those two. And so if they can play up to their talent and also take the coaching at the same time and understand the system, I think we're going to be covered there. And I think that as far as the DB room will be fine as well. But like Travis said, I mean, I think accountability is a word that's probably just being just blown out of proportion. That's just basically being said every day. And you're going to be accountable for your position. I mean, that's the reason why you're going to see a guy like Broyles out there, who not everybody wants to see him, but at the same time, you understand that, hey, it's a continuity piece, it's a chemistry thing. It's a fact of he's
and he improved over the years. He was baptized by fire as a freshman, and then he improved. He definitely earned a bit of respect coming down the stretch.
So I would say, to me, I think last year, and I'm not trying to compare this defense that's going to be ran this year to last year's defense. But I would say one of the things that we definitely struggle with, I was there at the Tulane game, and I think we all watched the Nebraska game. Those two teams, basically, reason why I put those two, I point out those two teams are because they run gadget type offenses. It's real gimmicky, right? So Nebraska, even their run game and their passing game are both based off of misdirection. They're trying to get you, they're trying to lull you to sleep by getting you to go left, and then boom, they have a tight end, they have a fullback running a wheel route, like a delayed
leaking or something. Yeah.
And it's just crazy. You're just like, wait a minute, where the hell did he go? Where did he even come from? But I think this year you'll see us be in better spots and better positions to make plays on plays like that, to where you're not sitting there watching like the Tulane game where a guy's just running wide the freak open on the sideline, and you're like, nobody's even near him. Pat Fields having to come from 20 yards across the field just to make a tackle. And you're just like, this is crazy, right? So,
yeah, no, I agree there.
Yeah. Man, chat's a little wild down there. I'll throw this one up though. From what we had said earlier, our boy Richard wants to know: do you think we see Morrison more at safety, and specifically because when he was listening to Teddy and Gabe said that Venables really stresses a lot on the safety, and so in light of having a guy like Trey Morrison that is a transfer that does have a lot of college football under his belt, you feel like he's going to want more experience out there rather than maybe a Billy Bowman who doesn't have the experience but has a butt ton of talent.
Yeah, I think Morrison's going to get a ton of playing time. I mean, he's got more starts than any player on our defense, so that's going to matter. He can play all positions. He's going to be at safety, but he can play all positions. So and he has played all positions, so he understands all the positions. So not only from a physical standpoint, but he can relate to every single spot in the secondary, all five spots. So that's where I think that he's got the edge early. Bowman he's done at nickel. They're focusing on him specifically safety. And I think all three of those guys are going to get a lot of run. I mean, you might see a situation where, I don't want to get into full blown, Grinch rotations, but I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of those guys rotating in pretty heavily because, Bowman's got the upside, and I would like to see Bowman get the ball in the return game a lot. He's very dynamic with the ball in his hands. So if he's playing a lot in the return game, who knows? So, but yeah, it's a good problem to have. We got one guy with a ton of talent. I'm not sure. I just saw that come across. I'm not sure. Bowman's not big enough to play the Simmons role, unfortunately. The Simmons role is what they call the cheetah. So they call it cheetah, but it's the linebacker nickel like hybrid. So in like a 4-2-5, you have your 4 and then your 2 linebackers, and then one of your 5 is the cheetah. So obviously you got to look at guys like Jaron Kinnick. You look at Shane Witter. He's got the speed for it. Bowman's just not big enough for that role. You look at a guy like Jaden Rowe that's coming in. I was tweeting about him earlier in the cheetah position. He just ran like a 10.42 or something like that in the 100. Looked like he was jogging. And he's like 6'3", 230 or something like that. And he played corner in high school. So, I mean, you got coverage skills, you got size, you got speed, everything like that. So that's who I think eventually will be playing that position. But yeah, I don't think. He's definitely yoked, but yeah, he's on the shorter side. But and they're very much like they talked about the coaches have talked about the flexibility of their defensive backs and how they want them learning other positions, except Billy Bowman. They want him only at safety because I think this staff. I think the staff understands that the previous staff really just threw Bowman in there and just said, go play anywhere in the secondary. You got to do this, that, and the other, and then he just got eaten alive. So I think they know that there was a disservice done to him. So with that, I think they're like, all right, look, you're going to be a safety. You're only going to focus on safety. Don't worry about other stuff. Don't worry about having to move to another position.
He showed flashes early on in the season at nickel, and I thought he was settling into nickel, but the hamstring was a problem. But JP, I've said it before plenty of times on all the pods that we've been on. They left him and McCutcheon out to dry at that Kansas game and after that Kansas game, whenever they pretty much circled the wagon with the rotation. But I mean that'll mess with a young player's mind. That'll mess with his psyche as far as where the hell do I even belong out here? But like you said, Trav, I do believe that. I think that they're coming in and saying, hey, look, we're going to provide you stability, and we're going to provide you the simple fact of knowing that, hey, every night you're every night or every day that you wake up, every night that you go to sleep, you're going to be a safety. Okay. And that's all that you need to focus on right now. You don't need to do anything else. And I think that's going to simplify everything for him. So he'll be able to just settle in and focus. And I think safety really shows his skill because the kid is talented, man.
Yeah.
He's talented. And like I said,
absolutely.
Yeah, there were flashes last year. And I mean, even some when he did end up getting some game time later in the year, you still saw he's like, oh man, he's still out there making some plays, right? So
I think his flashes to me were how he got to the ball.
Yeah.
Like it always seemed like he was just this close to break it, like having an interception and making a big play. I mean, there was a couple times, I think it was even Tulane, like one of the first over the middle, and he just comes over the top of our own guy and almost locks it in. So like little things like that, you saw those flashes of playmaking, not just being solid, but actually playmaking.
Yeah.
So I think that was key.
And I think you want, consistency in that regard because I think, and obviously they're in much different situations, but early in Bookie's career, right? I mean, you have all the hype of him coming out of California being a 5-star. He had a lot of similar type stuff early, where it's like he was that close, and you can see he had that ability, but he never really materialized. And now he made his fair share of big plays, also made his fair share of boneheaded mistakes. But again,
no, he made his fair share of big plays. If Buki was 6'3", he'd be a first-round pick. I mean,
he'll probably get drafted.
I mean, the thing is, he gets left out there on islands against tight ends that are 6 inches, 8 inches taller than him. What are you supposed to do? A lot of the times he was in fine position and he just he couldn't. I mean, you just can't defend it sometimes when you're that small. Yeah. So I mean, if that guy would have been 5 inches taller, if he'd have been 3 inches taller, we're probably talking about what round he's going in. But
hey, quick little shift. I'm gonna throw this up there real quick. Make sure y'all like and share. Like the video, share it on Twitter. Let's continue to get people in here. Trav, I'm gonna let you address this one because allegedly, DGD, Trav smokers were used to cook this brisket, but it's not.
No,
it's not true.
No. He used an electric smoker. Yeah,
Georgia fan wondering essentially why OU fans use the brisket picture because I don't think he's as privy as we are.
Yeah, last Easter he put up "Happy Easter, y'all," and he cooked a brisket that was leather, overcooked it. Benny Wiley talked about how great it was, blah blah blah. He talked about some Worcestershire bath soap that his brother taught him or whatever. But yeah, and then of course it was used against us up until he left. Of course, that this is how they eat brisket in Oklahoma. All this, and then of course they didn't want to hear that he's actually from Texas. So it was Texas's. It was Texas's doing to train him on how to cook a brisket. But yes, Buki drafted. If he were taller, Buki would have been drafted.
Let's JP, let's stay there, man. I mean, I kind of feel like we need to address that elephant in the room with that whole Players Tribune piece. I mean, I was just like, bye, Felicia, please leave us alone. Why are we still doing this? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, and there was a comment earlier. I could get to that. So most of y'all probably saw and read the players should be in peace that Lincoln put out. And I know Trav, obviously you shared it pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really said a whole lot of nothing. It said a whole lot of what we
Yeah.
already knew. And
Yeah, there was no new information.
yeah, what we as fans try to tell national media members of like, it's not that he left, it is how he left.
Yeah.
Right. And so even in him saying, I regret and felt some sadness, on the flight about the way things went down. And so like it's weird because you want to think with the way he said it, is like, you know what, maybe he did make that decision that quickly, but there's no way, not at that level.
No.
I refuse to believe that was a decision made right after Bedlam. I refuse to believe that.
I mean,
No.
Go ahead, try.
No, you good. You good.
I was just gonna say. I mean, if nobody else gonna say it, I'll say it. I mean, Jesus, it's like, bruh, like JP, will she not leave me alone, man? Like I've moved on. I don't want you anymore. Like leave me alone. Like why are we still talking about this? All right, you got a hell of a slate on your. You should not be worried about Oklahoma. You should be worried about those boys in Oregon because they've been throwing shots at you since they got there.
This feels like the article was actually written a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think happened. He got with his agent. He wrote kind of a remember all the good times story. Yeah. Basically, this is his goodbye. So like when other coaches, whether it was Chip or Jamar or whoever, when they put out their statement of hey, goodbye, thank you to Joe, thank you to Lincoln, or thank you to the fans, thank you to all these people in the university, made this possible. Me and my family enjoyed it here, whatever, and then went on our way. Like that's what this was. This piece should have been dropped like that day, or Monday or Tuesday. But since that never happened, I think they just held it, in the reserves, in the drafts, and said, all right, somebody's going to say something negative about me. Once that happens, then post it or then publish it because you don't wait 5 months to write a goodbye. And it's way too convenient that the Stogner and the Rattler quotes are getting out.
Yeah.
And those are players that are directly saying, I mean, Stogner was directly quoted basically saying that Lincoln, like they all knew something was up the week of the OSU game. And I spoke with one of the coaches on the former staff today for about a half hour. He was calling about something. And he even said, he's like, yeah, we all knew something was up. Like he said he was getting calls saying that, the whole staff's going to be at LSU. He was talking about like even recruiting. He was being weird about recruits and the future of that. Like, I mean, it was like, it was, I mean, even the coaches that week were like, all right, this is like, he's gone.
Yeah, it was all poorly executed, man. It was poorly planned, poorly executed. It happened. And I think we've all moved past it, and I think we are happy about the direction that we feel that this train is going to go. It's just one of those things where it's like, you could save that because you made a decision, all the rest of that. And like you said, I think it was just a piece that was, honestly, there's just been too much time in between the whole situation.
Well, that's why it was all lined out with, I remember this good moment at OU. I remember this. It was almost like he was trying to remind us, hey, we had some good times too. But literally the piece read with no new information. There was nothing that was in the article that couldn't have been written 4 or 5 months ago. So that's why I think they wrote it and then said, okay, cool. Let's just wait until our PR takes a hit. Maybe we lose out on Josh Connerly at the last minute to Oregon. And maybe Stogner says some mean things about me and all this. And then finally he's just like a parachute. Hey man, pull the ripcord. Let's get this out there. But he's just getting clowned for it too, because why do you wait 5 months to say goodbye?
I think one the best comment that I saw about it, somebody said, it's pretty much a salad. It was empty calories. Learn nothing.
Yeah.
And I would say, honestly, if Lincoln wants to really be sincere about it, unblock all the OU fans that you have blocked on all your social media. Do that and show me it's real. Do that, and I'll be like, okay, I get it. It's cool.
Yep.
But
Like I
at
said,
the
no new
same
information.
what'd you say?
No new information.
There's no new
And,
information.
to DGD's point, Cal Hurt's having a love fest with Riley
Yeah.
out there. He don't have a clue. I mean,
It doesn't. And he's just like everybody. They're doing it because OU on social media will give a lot of people a lot of attention. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we do.
what we do.
So, I mean, we've talked to recruits about it. We've talked to, recruiters about it, and they're like, "Yeah, man, when OU Twitter gets a hold of something, they don't let it go." So, with that, it's he knows what he's doing, and I mean, their show is in LA. Like ESPN's moved out to LA, Fox is in LA, and all this, and
Yeah.
they desperately need when that many people in that city, they want those eyeballs watching college football.
Yeah.
They need USC to be good. The product that they sell, which are TV contracts and clicks and all that, is tens of millions of dollars, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars more valuable when USC is good. So they're going to dump all their coverage into it, and then you're going to use it in recruiting. Lincoln's going to point to Colin Cowherd show, but yeah, I'm on Colin's weekly. This is kind of how we do out in Los Angeles. Oh, you see all these celebrities, or all these journalists saying that that I'm the greatest gift, and we're gonna make this all happen out here because all of those people stand to make more money if the biggest market on the West Coast by far has a team that's doing well. I mean, you see the same thing with, when anybody else moves the needle as far as money. Golfers want Tiger back on tour because they make a lot more money when Tiger's there.
Yeah.
Like other like journalists and producers, everybody, every media member, they say, we want USC to be good because we make more money if USC is good.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can shape the narrative around it and help them in recruiting as much as we can, then I get a bigger paycheck.
But the crazy thing about it is, and here's the funny thing, is that teams like USC, Texas, a lot of these schools that are out here, like, hey, we're really good. We're part of the elites. We're a blue blood, this and that, and all the rest of that. It's one of those things where you sit there and you say, hey, look, the media and all of them want you to be good for the reasons that Travis stated. But as you've seen over the close to, getting to a decade for decade for both teams, I would say, at least in that boat, college football doesn't need you to be good to actually survive and to thrive. They don't need you to be good. Everybody else wants you to be good. It would be nice if you're good, but nobody necessarily needs you to be good. So it's one of those things where, like I said, just for me personally, I just look at it as like, hey, look, it is what it is. He did it. What can we do? But at the end of the day, it's just late. It's not the right time. You got you got bigger fish to fry. And like I said, at the end of the day, Lincoln should not be worried about what's happening in Norman, but he should be worried about what's happening down there in Eugene, because those boys are throwing shots daily at his head. The coaching staff and all of them.
So we know what the
SEC
SEC is. He was too scared to go to the SEC. I mean,
facts.
Getting Connerly was big.
Yeah.
Because he was all the crystal balls that I was even paying attention to had him to USC, and the people I've talked to that know that kind of thing said that he was going to SC, and then last minute, Uncle Phil swings through, scoops him up.
Oh my gosh! All right, so hey, I want to transition now to another part of this weekend. Obviously, we know that Baker Mayfield is going to be there. It's going to be his first time back at Owen Field in a little bit. And it comes at a time where he probably needs it more than ever. And where, the OU fan base, it kind of is going to seem like a mutual thing for each other. We need him back. He needs us back. I think it's going to be a great time. Having said all of that, I just thought it'd be a nice little thing for us to talk about our favorite Baker Mayfield memories, and whatever comes out of that. If we want to talk about his situation right now, we can. I've talked about it ad nauseum, but um, everybody in the chat and then us three, we're going to talk about our favorite Baker Mayfield memories, specifically from college. One thing that stands out to you about his career. Boys, anybody got something?
Outside of the crotch grab and the flag plant, because that's everybody's top two answers.
Yes.
Outside of the
Don't
crotch
make it
grab and
popular.
outside of the flag plant. You got to think harder than that.
Man, I would say for me has to be the OSU game, the one where Hollywood broke out. I mean, Baker made play after play after play in that game. Think about I like to call it that fadeaway pass that he threw to Sermon, where you're just like, Baker, oh my God, that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Think about when he got his when he scrambled for that touchdown and he stiff armed that one defender. I mean, that game right there was a big time game. You got to see the full arsenal. You got to see that he was what everybody like to call or Joel Klatt like to call a willing runner. Wasn't a great runner, but he's a willing runner. Got to see him be able to get in there, get tough, be able to pick up yards for his team, but you also got to see him just dissect a defense. And I'm not going to say that OSU defense was good, but at the same time, I mean, you just got to see the full arsenal. You got to see him go vertical. Got to see him go over the middle. You got to see him just make simple plays, simple passes. And there were just some times where you're just like, man, he's elite. He's the best player on the field right now. And I mean, one of the things that stuck out to me about Baker was just simply the fact that obviously he had the it factor, but just how many guys, if you go back to that Ohio State game, don't look at the flag plant, all the rest of that stuff. Look at how many names you heard during that game. I mean, you heard from a bunch of receivers in that game. And Baker was able to always get everybody involved. He was able to keep everybody happy and healthy as far as targets and receptions. And just some of the throws that he made. And if you look at both of those games, another game that, I mean, would make you fall in love with Baker. Go back to that Auburn game, that bowl game. I mean, come on, man.
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
Yeah. One of the plays that I would say I'll never forget. And I mean, obviously both of them just made magic on that play, but it was that 60-yard, I want to say 40 to 60-yard one-handed catch that
Mixon?
That Mixon caught on the sideline against T-Tech. That I was like, man, they're just out here acting foolish now. This is just crazy. But Baker, I mean, there's so many moments that Baker had, man.
With him playing 3 years, it definitely gave a bunch of them. I mean, obviously, it's been put up in the chat a little bit, but my favorite was when Baker burst on the scene against Tennessee, and told 100,000 people to shut the hell up. I don't think. I mean, that was the Star is Born moment. I mean, they couldn't do anything all the first half. We had all. I mean, I still remember I was watching the Trays. We had a packed house, and man, it was nuts. Just when he took it in on that fourth down, game on the line, took it in on the fourth down, popped up, and told everybody to be quiet. That's my favorite, mainly because it was just like I said, a Star is Born moment. And had I known what I know now, what I was getting ready for, I had to buckle up, because I didn't realize all the memories that he would be bringing along. But yeah, I mean, just Baker being Baker, I guess, is going to be most of our favorite moments, right? I mean, that's obviously the flag plant and the crotch grab are the two most popular, obviously. But I mean, the telling the Kansas to stick to basketball, Baylor, got to show him who daddy is, that kind of stuff. Because the best part was he just backed it up. Luckily for him, he also had more talent at every single position whenever he played those teams. That's also helpful. But he could back it up, man. And it was the big throws were obviously what he was known for and everything like that. But yeah, some of our favorites are the running, like you said, being a willing runner. Um, getting to the pylon, understanding that it wasn't just it was never just a escape and pick up the first down with him. He's going to get those extra yards, and he'll try and put you on your ass if he can.
I think probably one of my top 5 Baker moments was after the whole crotch grab at Kansas. Just to see how excited he was for Collar when Collar took the first play. Basically taking it home. Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
When Baker had to sit out the first series.
Yeah, and to see him be the first one that's over there, that's going crazy on the sideline and everything, you're like, oh yeah, this guy's he actually gets it. And you can see everybody just followed his lead and everybody was excited. Not only because Collar made that big play, but because he was excited, to be the leader of the team, to be able to, accept it, like, all right, yeah, I did something wrong, but not sit over there and pout and just kind of have your helmet on, just ready to play. I mean, it was just really cool to see.
Well, that's what was so fun about that. That's what was so fun about that play was all of us got a little sneak peek and be like, oh, for people that didn't know Kyler, we're like, oh, we're going to be in fine shape. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those things that everybody said, that you guys have said, and piggybacking off of the Kansas piece. I mean, the one frustrating thing you continue to see people throw that out there, and they have no clue. If you watch that game, you know why Baker grabbed his crotch. It's not like he just did it out of nowhere. Like, they tried to take
it wasn't just score. Yeah, just scored a touchdown and then said, oh, or whatever. Like, yeah, they were being dirty. They were hitting them late. They were doing everything. I mean, they were coming after him.
One guy literally tried to take out his throwing shoulder. And I mean, like, legit take out. And they didn't even I don't think they called a flag on it. If I remember correctly.
Was Les Miles the coach that year?
No, I don't think so.
Or was that Beatty?
I think that was still Beatty.
Yeah, they're Beatty.
So my favorite, I have a ton, obviously. If I'm going to pick a game, I probably would say Ohio State, and not the flag plant, but just the performance that he put on. A performance that Urban Meyer says is the best quarterback game he's ever had played against him, ever, right? Hall of Fame coach, despite everything he did in the NFL, great college coach, had Baker Mayfield come into his home and throw for over 300 yards, 2+ touchdowns.
Yeah.
Best game he's ever seen him play. Moments. This is another deep cut that I don't know if a lot of people remember. 2015 at Oklahoma State. We're smacking him. He runs in on the right side, right by the pylon, and that wall is tight.
And that short wall. Yeah.
Yes, and he gets spun around and he spins the ball. That right there is like, I mean, it's swag personified. That's when I knew it was like, this dude is different. And then Bedlam the next year at OU, we win. And once he has the Fu Manchu, and he's flying around Olin Field, right? Like like Pied Piper, like Hugh Jackson said. Just stuff like that, right? That you just think of, you're like, man, like, that's why we're encapsulating in this conversation why Oklahoma fans love Baker Mayfield so much, right? I mean, we've talked about it on Twitter plenty of times, Trav. People try to turn it into a race thing, or Cleveland Browns fans, I would say. Try to turn it into a race thing between Baker and Kyler.
Don't even call them people.
You got, like, if Kyler was, why didn't Kyler get a statue? Okay, first of all, you don't know what you're talking about because he is going to get one. And why don't you guys defend Kyler? Well, Kyler's not being railroaded like Baker is. Well, because that's not it at all. Kyler didn't play here 3 years. We love Kyler. It's not about that. Kyler didn't play here 3 years. Baker did. And Baker also has one of the most unique stories in all of college football ever. He walked on twice. And he was an OU fan to begin with. Right? And so we've seen him grow up from being an OU fan to now being the starting quarterback and getting to do it for 3 years. And then in his third year has one of the best seasons to that point of all time for a quarterback and wins the Heisman. Like, how people don't understand that is kind of mind-boggling to me. You know what I mean? But
they don't. They don't want to. They're just trying to get clicks, get followed, get engagement. Like I said, we saw it happen with a couple accounts that were, I mean, would be described as Baker Bros, and then they saw the interaction that Hayden on Baker got, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, I guess I'm going to do this now."
Baker is the epitome of he's that one frat guy that everybody likes. Whether you're in the frat or you're not, he's that one guy that's just like, hey man, yeah, I do this, blah blah blah. But like this isn't totally me. Like get to know me, like I'm really cool, blah blah blah. He's that guy. And so not everybody's gonna be able to click with that guy, right? And so
Right.
you know how it is. I mean, obviously you see how people were so quick to dismiss and ridicule and bring up the past of Spencer Rattler, and you're sitting there just like, man, it's hard just to believe all that stuff because it looks like his teammates actually really do like him. Granted, you do hear some things, you hear rumblings or whatnot, and it's still the same stuff. I mean, we all heard stuff probably about Baker off the field, but at the same time, like, man, I don't know. Some like I see some of the conversation you have on Twitter and some of the things you retweet. I'm just like, bro, JP, you fighting a lost cause, man. Those people are
Yeah,
so.
he's we're trying to get him better at that. We got him in counseling.
Trav's been working on me for a while.
Free Baker until it's backwards.
You can ask him though. I'm better. I'm not as bad as I was.
You're better than you used to.
At least I argue with like actual accounts now.
Yeah.
Early on, I used to argue with people with 5 followers. I didn't care.
The situation
one follower would be like UT, and 15 numbers, and he'd be in there just quote tweeting him. I'm like, get this off my timeline, bro.
I mean, the whole thing with Baker, especially now, you just fast forward to now, man, it's just going to be really good to kind of get back and get away from it. But I mean, he understands the business aspect of it. It's a screwy situation, but at the end of the day, do we expect anything less from the Browns?
Right.
So the whole thing is that.
Well, all I know is Andrew Berry is the worst negotiator of all time. What have we seen? The three major moves in the offseason. He absolutely tanks Baker's draft value or trade value, which what's the most important thing in negotiations? Leverage.
Yeah.
He gets rid of all of his leverage right out of the gate. Say, all right, no leverage because no team's going to trade us anything because they know that we're not going to keep him on the roster. It's not going to be Jacoby Brissett, Deshaun Watson, and Baker all just like in the QB room, having some popcorn together. Like, he's going to be gone. So they're like, we know you have to get rid of him. So we're just going to wait until you're desperate and you'll have to cut him or something like that.
Yeah.
And then so that's one where he completely lost leverage. Bad negotiation. Deshaun Watson, that agent left, got everything he wanted. $230 million guaranteed, $80 million more than the next most.
Yeah.
I mean, the most absurd contract we've ever seen for an NFL player. And then he goes and pays Denzel Ward to be the highest paid cornerback in the league, has not been healthy his whole career.
Nope.
And he's got $72 million guaranteed, I think was the number. Those three things, he blew up leverage on the Baker situation, which is going to cost the team long term.
Yeah.
And then he signs two guys to the highest with their positions, the highest paid or the highest guaranteed money in history. These agents are walking around going, Deebo Samuel probably called his agent. And he's like, hey, man, I want to trade now. Just get me to Cleveland because they're just handing out guaranteed money over there you can walk all over Andrew Berry.
There was I know there was a report out there. I think it was a faint report, but basically there was like a few teams. I think one in particular that wanted to trade for him, but they were basically telling the Browns like, "Hey, you're going to have to include one of your first round picks for him." So
no, they wanted a first round pick.
Yeah. They're like, no, they want a first round pick.
The Browns wanted a first round pick, and it's like, dude, like. You just called this dude a child. Yeah. And you just signed two quarterbacks.
No, what I'm saying is that the team interested told the Browns, like, no, if you want us to take him, we want you to give us a first round pick.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case.
I mean, it's just crazy. Like some of these teams, because they can do that because they can mess with them because the Browns have put themselves in a bad situation. But
Yeah.
regardless, I think at the end of the day, it's still a plus for Baker because either they're going to pay you to be on a roster to go out there, which you most likely, if healthy, will be the day one starting quarterback because we don't know what's going to come out of this whole situation with Deshaun Watson. And then at the end of the day, I don't care injured or not injured, 100%, 75% Baker Mayfield or 100% Baker Mayfield is way better than Jacoby Brissett. I will say that, okay? But at the end of the day, they're going to probably pay him to stay at home, stay away from the team, the facilities, and all the rest of that. That's just going to give Baker more time to heal and actually just kind of sit back and see exactly what his options are. And I think that he'll end up somewhere and be playing probably by the middle of the season because there's going to be teams who need him because with OTAs starting, in the near future and all the rest of that stuff, I mean, you just got to think like it's bound to happen.
I still think he starts. I still think he starts somewhere this year, whether it's Seattle or Carolina would be obviously my top two, even if he ends up in Detroit or something like that. Like he will start. This is just a matter. He would be on a team right now if the Browns knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
But it's just going to cost them money in the long term. It's going to be a cap hit. They're probably going to have to cut him, and people are going to be lined up trying to get Baker Mayfield.
And everybody wants to listen to the media and what they're putting, national media, Browns media, what they're pushing, which is Baker. There's nobody wants Baker. This is why do you think that is? You listen to ESPN, you listen to Fox, whatever. It's consistent for the most part across the board, except for Ian Rappaport, who read a guy who said Drew Lock is better than Baker.
I did like how he clapped clapped back at him. He's like, I'm not letting you get away with that.
I'm not letting you do that.
Drew Lock,
but hopefully Baker lands somewhere on his feet. I think we all know and have seen. It's not like we blindly just throw our love to OU quarterbacks. Obviously we do, but we're realistic. When Sam Bradford struggled, he struggled. We get that he was hurt, etc. Landry Jones never really. He was backup for forever. Never really called on. It's not like we were out here clamoring for Landry Jones to be the Steelers starter, the starter of Big Ben, go somewhere and start. We never said that. Baker has had consistent success in the league, and we've seen that. We've also seen, he was obviously injured last year. 2019, he was under one of the worst head coaches of all time, as said by everybody, at least at how things were handled. And so, just to say that he can't play is nuts. And we get made out like we're just, Baker bros and we're making stuff up and we just love Baker so much and we're blinded. And I'm like, no, like, I feel like everybody else is blinded by their hatred of him. They don't, so it doesn't allow them to be objective about the situation, which is he's not, a top 5 quarterback. He's Friends top 10 at best, I think, right now, but he's also not bottom 20, which a lot of people think. Like, put him somewhere in that 12 to 18 range, that's fine. But everybody wants to act like he's below average.
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. The real reason why I try to stay away from the tweets and some of the things that you talk about, because you make me have second thoughts about Russell Westbrook on my Lakers. Because the way that Browns fans feel about Baker is the way I feel about Russell Westbrook, but I try to back up off of that. I try to be like, you know what? I don't play the game anymore. I don't do none of that. Let me stop doing that. Let me stop being a total fanboy because I have a lot of words and a lot of feelings.
Lakers fans are just as bad, and they're all 13 years old.
That's true. That is true.
Lakers Twitter's full of a bunch of 13-year-olds.
That's true.
So it's like, they want to blame. The only person to blame for anything going wrong in LA is the guy who runs LA. That would be LeBron James.
LeBron James, yes. Thank you. Yeah.
So anything that's wrong with that team, when you look around the league and you see all these exciting young players come off the bench, role players, this, that, and you look over at his team and it's a bunch of geriatric dudes, ring chasing, like there's a reason that your bench is no good, that you're not deep at all. And then you got Anthony Davis is always hurt, and then LeBron started to get dinged up, and we'll bring in Russ to kind of spell some of the time, but we won't let Russ actually play the position that he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer playing. Like,
And I feel like it's a good comparison to draw because think about Juice Landry, think about Odell Beckham. It's not like they're staying healthy every season and being able to play every game. Some
That's
of your
what
top
everybody says,
targets,
though.
Austin Hooper, known for having soft
the entire defense. Like,
the entire defense was. I mean, your first round draft pick. Delpit had what, a torn meniscus? I mean, not torn meniscus, torn Achilles his first year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like people are like, "Oh, well, the defense is solid." Top. I'm like, was it? Watch the first couple games. Baker put up what, 42 on Baltimore, and it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Especially in 2020.
Yeah, like, I mean, at the start of the season, like, what do you like? How is that Baker's fault?
His
Baker's
tackles
supposed to play safety too.
Facts.
And I mean, let's just be real. If we want to be all the way real about it, and this could definitely gonna make me seem like a Baker fanboy. The run game this year was not the best.
No, the offensive line was good on paper, but Baker was always running for his life, and the running game wasn't where it was supposed to be. So
yeah,
the tackles were hurt all year. Wills was hurt all year with his ankle, and Conklin, and he played through it, but Conklin was out like half the year as well. They didn't have much continuity in their tackle game. And then Chris Hudson tore his triceps, and then their backup tackle that they paid a bunch of money was out as well. And so you're right, the run game wasn't working because they also were stacking the box, and people want to blame that on Baker, but we could also blame it on the fact that literally by metrics, the Browns had one of the worst, if not the worst, wide receiver cores, last year. In terms of separation, especially. So,
it's hard to take shots at that boy Stefanski. I like Stefanski a lot, man, but I will say, as far as the run game, he left nothing to the imagination. Like, seriously. Like, I mean,
we saw it in Minnesota as well.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, would you stop trying to get one of the OU guys in Dallas? Keep them away from Jerry Jones. You keep those boys away from Jerry Jones.
I'll tell, man, Baker in Dallas would be epic.
They'd want Kyler. Yeah. Kyler can't lose.
Yeah,
in that
they
stadium.
do want Kyler.
Hey, he can't happen.
You can't lose in that stadium. But no, stop trying to get them to go to Dallas. I can't stand that team.
Well, guys, it's been fun.
Yeah, no doubt.
Go pack the Palace. If you're in the chat and go to the game, Trav's gonna be there. Chris is gonna be there. I'll be there in spirit. Again, I'm hosting a tournament. I can come down.
Come by Yo Pablo after the game. Come by. We're 5 to 7. We got the post game show going. Me, Tyler McComas, and Jordan Evans. Jordan Evans is going to join us. So, it's going to be an awesome show. Yo Pablo on Campus Corner.
Yo Pablo on Campus Corner.
Yep. After the game. So Yo Pablo, 5 to 7 p.m.
Yes. And other things, Chris. Are you doing anything at the spring game? You gonna be anywhere? Meeting up with anybody?
I'm just gonna be all over, man. I'm just gonna be enjoying the scene. Especially if it's not raining, I'm just gonna be all over, just having fun, man. Last spring game I went to was when Jalen Hurts was out there. So I didn't go to the one. Yeah, I didn't obviously go to the one last year, but the one with Jalen Hurts, that was pretty fun. That was pretty cool, and got to see him out there, and I was pretty excited about that team for sure. I was like,
the one last year was weird.
Yeah.
It was like all segmented, couldn't sit very close to each other. They had like twos. It was cool, but it was weird. And you got to see Caleb Williams play, and you're like, oh man, this guy might be pretty good.
And our boys over at Anything OU are going to be having a big tailgate as well. So you can pop over there, go what's up to them. I think they're handing out some shirts and stuff like that. So go ahead and check them out as well at the tailgate. Sounds like Deshaun White might be there as well. Looks like what Drew said. So go out there for the tailgate. Just make sure you guys show up, just in general. Just show up. Have a good time for me, for everybody. Hey, did want to say, I can't confirm, and Trav can confirm this with me. Next week, we have the biggest guest we have ever had, ever, in the history of the JP Trav Show coming on. We're not gonna tell y'all right now. We'll reveal it.
You can't tease them like that, bro.
We'll reveal it early next week.
You're already in there.
Hey, but anticipation, okay? I will announce it after the spring game because that's taking priority. But I'm telling y'all, you want to come It's not just the OU guy. He's a national guy. I'll say that. That's my only hint. I'm not saying nothing else. But it's going to be a good time. So make sure y'all come out next week.
Y'all got Kirk Herbstreit?
Not Kirk. But all right, y'all. We gonna get out of here. Appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all some of them. We'll see you at the Palace. I'll be on Twitter. All right, Boomer.
Yep. See you guys.